Atticus and Nate were best friends. They loved video games. From the moment they met, they bonded over their shared passion for gaming. They played all kinds of video games, from action-packed shooters to intricate puzzle games. They spent hours in front of the TV, controllers in hand, eyes glued to the screen. The thrill of the game kept them going.
Round 58, Nate yelled. We're on fire. This was their highest score yet. Don't jinx it, Atticus warned, eyes glued to the screen. He knew how quickly things could turn. This next wave is always the worst. They braced themselves for the challenge ahead.
Atticus was tall and skinny. His lanky frame made him look almost comical when he got excited. He always wore a baseball cap, a signature look that made him easily recognizable. Nate was shorter and stockier. His build gave him a grounded presence. He had a big laugh that could fill a room, making everyone around him smile. They were both in college, balancing their studies with their love for gaming. They lived in a small apartment together, filled with the clutter of student life and gaming gear. Their favorite game was Call of Duty Zombies. They loved the challenge. They loved the teamwork. It was their ultimate test of skill and strategy. They could play for hours. They never got bored. Each session was a new adventure, a new story to tell. One weekend, Atticus and Nate went camping. They brought their Xbox. They brought a generator. They brought a big screen TV. They were ready to game all night long.
Let's go for round 60, Atticus said. He cracked his knuckles. This was their goal. This is it, Nate said. His eyes gleamed with excitement.
They set up camp in the woods. It was a secluded spot. No one else was around. They built a fire. They cooked hot dogs. They settled in for a night of gaming. They played for hours. They fought off wave after wave of zombies. They were unstoppable. They were a team. They were close to their goal. Suddenly the game froze. The screen went black.
What the? Atticus started to say.
Then, a strange message appeared on the screen. It was written in a creepy font. It said, "The magic of the world."
What is this? Nate leaned closer to the TV.
Before Atticus could answer, the Xbox made a horrible grinding noise. Smoke started pouring out of it. Then everything went dark.
No, our Xbox, it's fried. What happened? Was that a game?
They tried to turn the Xbox back on, but it was dead. Completely dead. They were stranded, in the middle of the woods, with no way to play their game. The next day, they drove to GameStop. The sun was shining brightly, and the streets were bustling with activity. They parked their car right outside the store, their minds set on a single mission. They needed a new Xbox. They needed it now. The urgency in their steps was palpable as they navigated through the aisles, eyes scanning for the familiar green box.
We found this weird game on the dark web. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and it seemed to have a life of its own.
Atticus explained to the guy behind the counter. His voice was steady, but there was an underlying tension that couldn't be ignored.
And it, fried our Xbox. We were just playing and suddenly it went up in smoke.
The guy gave them a strange look. It was a mix of disbelief and curiosity, as if he couldn't quite grasp what he was hearing.
The dark web? Are you serious? His voice was tinged with skepticism.
Atticus and Nate's worried faces peered over the counter at the GameStop employee. They were desperate for answers, hoping he could help.
Yeah, we need to know if you've ever heard of this game. It was called The Magic of the World. Ever heard of it? The name itself sounded ominous, like it held secrets best left undiscovered.
The guy shook his head. He had never come across anything like it in his years at the store.
Never seen it. His confusion was evident, and it only added to their growing unease. Must have been some kind of virus. Maybe it was a malicious program designed to wreak havoc.
Atticus and Nate bought a new Xbox. They hoped this one would be safe from whatever had destroyed the last one. They drove back to the campsite. The road was long and winding, and the shadows of the trees seemed to stretch endlessly. They set everything up again. The familiar hum of the console brought a sense of normalcy, but it was fleeting. They tried to forget about the magic of the world, but the memory of it lingered like a shadow that refused to fade. But as they played, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It was an unsettling sensation that made their skin crawl. Every time they paused the game, they heard a faint pinging sound. It was almost imperceptible, but it was there, like a distant echo, like their location was being tracked. The thought sent chills down their spines, making them question everything they knew. Life went back to normal, sort of. The days seemed to blend together, a monotonous routine that masked the underlying tension. Atticus and Nate couldn't stop thinking about the game, the strange message, the pinging sound. It haunted their thoughts, creeping into their dreams. They tried to find the magic of the world online, but it was like it never existed. Every search led to dead ends, and every forum post went unanswered. One night, they were playing their new Xbox. The glow of the screen was the only light in the room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. They were in the middle of a tense match. The intensity of the game was a welcome distraction from their unsettling thoughts. Suddenly, the lights in the apartment flickered. The door creaked open. A cold draft swept through the room, sending shivers down their spines. A figure stood in the doorway. He was wearing a dirty chicken mask. The mask was cracked and stained, adding to the figure's menacing appearance. He was holding a hammer. The figure took a step into the light. The hammer glinted ominously, reflecting the flickering light. Atticus recognized the figure. It was the guy from GameStop. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut.
What do you want? His voice trembled barely above a whisper.
The figure didn't answer. He lunged at Nate. The hammer came crashing down. The sound was sickening, a dull thud that echoed in the small apartment. Atticus screamed. He scrambled backwards, knocking over the TV in a shower of sparks. The room was plunged into chaos. He didn't know what else to do. He ran. He could hear the Chicken Man jacket, his mind supplied behind him. The footsteps were heavy and relentless. He ran out of the apartment. He ran down the street. The night was cold and his breath came out in ragged gasps. He didn't stop running until he reached the police station. His legs felt like jelly and his heart pounded in his chest.
He's dead! Jacket, he killed Nate! The words tumbled out in a frantic rush, his voice breaking with emotion.